MG Rob back with you, and today we're working on Project Ginsu again. Now last time I cut the hatch apart and kind of started laying things together and mocking it up, and today I'm actually trying to make things fit together and work on all the parts. So let's take a look at what I've been doing. Now unfortunately when I come out here this morning, I just kind of got to work, started doing things, and didn't really set up the camera. But when I started by tacking all this stuff in here, not this, and kind of getting that somewhat solidified, and tacking in, and I cut off this part here, the whole top half here, and then put a couple pieces in here in the outside and the inside just to hold this at the right distance. And to get this solid so I can figure out what to do with the top part. So once I cut the top part off, what I ended up doing was, trying to figure out where it needed to sit. Got the distance right here, and then figured out how much to cut off the bottom here. I ended up cutting off about 3/8 of an inch. And then tacked it back in place with a couple more pieces here just acting as spacers. Now I may or may not build to these and leave them in place. I haven't figured that one out yet. So I've got a much nicer gap all the way through here and got this lining up pretty good through here. And I ended up putting this piece in here as the last thing I did. But one thing I do have to address is this area here. Now this may be a little hard to see, hard to get a good camera angle on it. But when we take this here, we notice that we got a bit of a gap here. So this needs to move up in relationship to this. So I got some ideas on how to get this up and make this work, but I got to think it through just a little bit more before I actually go through with it. My first thought was to cut it across here and section it and slide it up and over just a little bit. But my second thought here might be to just cut it across here and just twist it slightly until this lines up, and that might get my gap looking really good here. So we'll see which way I end up going with it. Alright, so while I was really working out what I was doing on this, I wanted to think and have the radio going and all that stuff, so I didn't film that, but I'll go ahead and film some of what I'm doing now that I'm on this side. So originally I just kind of decided that my cut should be between these two factory welds on the square tubing. Now what I need to do from here is I need to cut a couple pieces and tack in here to get the width of this set where it needs to be. All right, so I need to cut approximately 3/8 of an inch off of this. First time I did it, I cut a 1/4 inch off, fit it, found that I needed to go almost to another 1/8 of an inch. I'll probably still do it kind of the same way just to make sure. All right, so now I've cut approximately a 1/4 inch off of that. Another good reason for doing that is if I don't get both cuts exactly straight with each other, that gives me a chance to be able to grind and clean things up and get them buttered up nice without ending up too short. It doesn't look like I'm going to need to take quite as much off of this side as I did last time. So while I might have actually taken a fuzz more than a 1/4 inch off, it looks like by the time I actually clean this up and get both cuts aligning really well with each other, it's probably going to be the right length. So all I got to do is just do that now. I think that's going to work. I'll start by tacking this corner right here. Work the inside here. While keeping that width. I'm just going to go grab a couple more of these to put up here. Now these are just set to the right width to fit in there and do what I need to do. They're not necessarily shaped right. So there is a little bit of a dip in this naturally. So I don't know that I'll actually keep these in there if I'll try to work them to get the shape right and then fill in the gaps, or if I'll take them completely out. I'll figure that out later. So that gives me something kind of solid to work with, where I can kind of move this around and get it to actually stay while I look at the rest of it. So now once I get this up where it needs to go, about right there, that'll give me a pretty good line. And then I can work with all this down here. And of course, just like the other side, this corner here is tight and it hangs down a little bit, so I'll have to do the same thing on this corner that I'm going to have to do on that corner. So what I'll probably end up doing here is I'll probably end up tacking something across these corners just to get these things sitting exactly where I want them and solid. Then I'll take the hatch off, get it over onto a table, and then start working all the inner structure. Once I build the inner structure out, then I'll take a look at the outside here. Now, it's possible that I might end up just coming in here and cutting this right here, just inside this bend line here and here, and just replacing the whole thing there rather than trying to work with these, since this is kind of angling too much this way and then this is angling kind of too much that way for those to line up. But we'll see. Like I said before, I'll work that as I'm doing it. So I think so far the hatch is progressing along nicely, but that's all we're going to do for today. So this is MG Rob. Later.